Good evening, RPG Limit Break. Welcome to the Highway to the Zemus Zone Dark Knight Division Match 2. I am Tirasu, one of your commentators, and my co-commentator is Invenerable. How are you doing this?
I'm doing pretty great tonight, Tarasu. It's looking to be a very exciting match coming in. We do have penguin8r and SwimmyLionni, two of the competitors from the live RPG Limit Break Marathon run this year, and Simbu, who has done probably more analysis of how mechanics work in this game than pretty much anyone else. So, going to be a great match.
It's going to be a very good match. All three runners are very incredible, and you're going to see some high-quality running.
Absolutely. All three of them know very much how to handle pretty much anything they come across in this game. It'll be pretty cool to see if any of them have some new tech they want to break out here. I know penguin8r's been working really hard on doing mastering a double life 2 grind on gold dragons on the moon. Swimmy, of course, has the entire D-Machine chart memorized. He probably won't even bother with the gold dragons given the opportunity. And Simbu has been looking into some of the weird stuff we've discovered with the Dwarf Castle character and Rydia this week. So lots of possibilities in play tonight.
I remember seeing that you knew Rydia thing in Dwarf Castle. That would be interesting to see come out. But since these runners are so good, are we hoping for, K-Natsu at Hook?
Honestly, I doubt that any of these three even get that worried about K-Natsu at Hook. Maybe if we have a whole bunch of other mages to go along with this Palom, this Quack Kid's going to just clean up the early game for them. But give me a whole bunch of mages, and then we can start looking forward to some K-Natsu action.
Oh yeah, K-Natsu at Hook's one of my personal favorites, and I'd love to see it. But runners should be off at any second now.
Absolutely. We are running on a 15-minute delay, so we're seeing, Tarasu and I are seeing this for the first time, same time as all of you in the audience. So let's get to it. Wonder who that pairing character will be and what that starting item is.
Ooh, a Rydia.
Dark
and then
Elf
the Crystal Sword.
I didn't believe that item existed. Baka Shinobi has been telling me about it for a few weeks now, but I've never seen one. So clearly there's something wrong with this seed.
It's not the crystal we're looking for. And because it showed up so early, I don't think we're going to see a Cestal.
I mean, if we do, we're going to see everyone rushing ordeals. Crystal Sword, of course, the most powerful weapon in this flag set. Just a whopping strength bonus, huge attack power. There's no reason not to use it. If you skip out on ordeals, if you have a Dark Knight Cecil in this weapon, you're either giving yourself a challenge run or you're just being obstinate.
If I had to guess, I would say the runners would be doing a challenge run, but you don't pass up Crystal Sword Cecil. It's just too strong. It will literally carry you the entire game.
Yeah. And so all three of our racers uniformly kind of checking Baron here at the start. If it weren't for the different menu colors, I wouldn't be sure if we didn't have a duplication. So Yang here, guarded by a lunar boss. Still no Cecil in play yet, though.
No Cecil in play, and you don't actually know what that boss is. It could be any of those lunar bosses. Could be something easy like Plague, or you could run into Nope.
Yeah. Although, honestly, given that there's only 400 HP there, sure, I'll go ahead and fight a Nope Rope here. Give me the nastiest boss that you've got your hands on. Let me deal with it here, instead of having some really annoying drawn-out fight in a higher difficulty spot.
Very, very true. It looks like Simbu ignored the Baron item shop, and it's got some pretty interesting items in there.
Yeah, you can get an early stack of tents. Hourglass 2s are great for freezing things. The Kamikaze item is very nice if we had life potions to pair with it, that is. We'd be perfectly fine running into Plague. And, of course, Thor Rages and, Thor Rages and Succubi each have their own niche uses as well.
There's also an Odin summon and a Huron robe and Damsiad, both good things for Rydia. Odin maybe not the most useful, but still has some use.
Oh yeah, put her in the middle spot, and you can definitely use that for some jankier grind situations and to wipe out any bosses that don't have the boss bit. But that heroin robe is going to give her ridiculous defense. If we can find a good bow or a dragon whip to go with that, Rydia can actually be our physical DPS this seed.
That's very true. Rydia with the heroine robe and just an elven bow would be incredible for. And that looked like a ninja in the bed.
Yeah, so if we find a sand ruby, we'll not be surprised if Swimmy quickly jets back there. With this little differences here, Swimmy loves to do a little more item shop checks than a lot of opponents do, just because you don't want to run into an early Wyvern or Golbez without Star Veils in play. So he always exercises a little caution here. You're probably checking all your shops eventually anyway, so he just likes to go ahead and knock it out sooner rather than later.
And that early check might have paid off. He found some illusions. Simbu went up Hobbs, got a Rosa, and it was the Kaipo fight. So very, very easy.
Oh yeah, that one is done. And the very nice thing about that fight, it gives enough XP for Simbu's Palom. Well, if he got the captain. I'm not sure if he got the captain knocked off. If you get the captain there, full XP for the spot. You get, I believe, all 3 tier 2 spells on Palom and can go into Antlion with just extreme confidence.
This is very true. Palom gets those tier 2 spells very, very quickly. Swimmy also taking a look at the summon you get from Hobbs, because the Hobbs flag's on just the bomb summon tonight.
Yeah, not the greatest summon. It is kind of handy given that we have that heroin robe, because its damage is purely based on Rydia's HP, not based on her actual spell power, which that heroin robe nerfs. So if we find a golden apple or 2, she can throw out a few hundred damage with that. But yeah, I'm not like as good as getting an Asura Silver a Titan there.
Speaking of Asura, there is an Asura summon in the Antlion cave, so Rydia now has some healing potential as well.
Yep, and I wonder, so Simbu has already picked up a Rosa, so I doubt he's going to use that. He'll probably use it for money instead. But I wonder if penguin8r or Swimmy will go ahead and activate that just to get a little more utility out of the Rydia. She does need more MP to cast it, but it's not a bad heal spell at all.
And to answer in chat, this division originally had 4 runners, and in their last match, unfortunately, one of the runners was eliminated, and that would have been, I believe that was Woobear?
It was. Woobear was top 4 and drafted this group, and just couldn't quite get his footing in the first match they played, and fell out of it. He's not the only one of a drafter, pardon me, to not advance past the first match. This is just an amazing top 16, great racers all around. Anyone can go home any race.
This is very true. All of the runners in this top 16, and you're seeing that quickly dwindle down. You cannot underestimate a single one of them.
Absolutely. We do have Mylon Z here at the Antlion spot. So Simbu here, did he actually get the level to get Fire 2? Based on those quack hitting, I think he does.
Yeah, that Fire 2 is going to make very quick work of this Mylon Z, him being naturally weak to fire. And you see, even though he got into the fight after Penguin, quickly getting through it.
Oh yeah, 1 Fire 2 and 1 good arrow. It's kind of funny, to make this Earth Elemental Fiend immune to Quake, they had to make it float. And if you make it float, it takes bonus damage from thrown weapons and arrows. So Simbu getting all the bonus DPS there on Mylon Z.
And Mylon Z giving us a hook. So hook seed hype?
The dream is alive. So you were calling Kenatsu earlier, I believe?
That's always a dream, just because he is, in my personal opinion, the most difficult of the bosses at hook. But there's certainly a lot that can prove challenging, especially just based on party makeup.
Absolutely. And we are rocking a very mage-heavy party now. That Heroin Robe will let either Rosa or Rydia do some pretty good battle damage with their weaponry. But if we don't find a true Physical Bruiser, there are a lot of bosses at that spot that can just end up hurting this team.
It's very true. We do know that we have a Yang, so that, while not the greatest early, at least they have a pretty solid late game bruise.
Oh yeah, and even mid-game he gets a ton of HP, so if we do get one of those jerks that punches for a whole ton of damage at King Queen Evelyn or really quickly at Rubicant, at least Yang can take a hit or two, especially if we get some blink spells or illusions going on him.
Very, very true. Yang, a really nice character to have once you get through that Baron Inn. And we saw both Penguin and Simbu also making use of that Hobbs flag, which also opens up the back of Hobbs to loot. And there was a diamond ring back there. Pretty nice piece of equipment, especially early for these mages.
Oh yeah, one of the best rings that you'll find in the T3 flag set. Of course, T4 or from key item spots, you can get those really spicy crystal rings and protect rings. But for now, I will take every diamond ring and rune ring I get my hands on with this party.
This is very true. And we also saw there was a black sword on Hobbs. Now, if only that Cecil would show up, we have both of his ultimate weapons.
Anyway, Frico in chat wondering a little more curious about what is happening here. This is the Final Fantasy IV free Enterprise Randomizer. You take the vanilla game, you start with an airship, and the characters are randomized, key item locations are randomized, loot is randomized. Boss stats are left the same per spot, but the bosses themselves get shuffled around and their scripts remain the same. You want to talk about what you need to do to actually win the race, Terasu?
Certainly. So to win this race, you need to get 4 particular items. The first 2 you're looking for, most importantly, is the Adamant and the Legend Sword, which normally in the base game forges an Excalibur, but for this one will forge the crystal needed to hurt Zeromus. You also need to find a way to the underground, either through the hook or the magma key, which the hook route will get you a character, but some more difficult bosses in order to get to that underground. Whereas the magma key is just instant access. Then you also need a path to the Zeromus in either the pass or the darkness crystal.
Absolutely. So our racers are going to be checking all over the world. It has vanilla key item spots. We've also thrown in all the summon quests and all the lunar dais fights. So lots of places here, 28 total, where you can find potential key items. Only actually 17 plus the pass, well, 16 plus the pass in them though. So I'm gonna hopefully find the goods instead of just, unnecessary loot at certain places.
Penguin8r took a quick peek at that waterfall cave just to get the information, and it was a vanilla Octomam. And Simbu also dealing with some vanilla on his side with the Fabul Gauntlet actually attacking Fabul.
I mean, at least it's a fight it's one of those spots where it'll at least go through very quickly. I don't mind Fabul Gauntlet at certain early game spots, and I don't mind it at late game spots when I have the Quake spell to really tear through it. It's always the middle game or with certain awkward parties where it takes forever.
Yeah, Fabul Gauntlet on the moon and you have no AoE, that's always a pleasure. And then it almost never has anything, but... So we also see SwimmyLionni, he using that hook a little early, going to this Eblon cave. I'm guessing probably going to take a look at the character here.
Oh yeah, I like this play to get a little bonus information. First of all, you get a 4th character, which is fantastic, just to round the party out. You get to see the sprite of the boss at the Ruby spot, which helps you prepare. You know, what kind of team do I need? What kind of items do I want before I actually come down here? With the intent of proceeding underground. Also, he found that Staleman chest in the very first room of the cave, so quick reset and he gets to full loot everything else. So he's really going to be pumping up his inventory here.
It's always nice to find that Staleman chest early. Another thing that's randomized, trapped chest locations.
Yeah, and Frico, a lot of the summons in the game, instead of getting them at the vanilla locations, the Bahamut Leviathan summons will still be in only the top tier of locations. Most other summons, the tier 2s, you still learn by upgrading Rydia at Dwarf Castle, and then a whole bunch of others you can actually find in chests and learn just by popping them as an item out of battle.
And as for Rydia being the wrong one, one of the other interesting things that's been done for Free Enterprise is some of the characters, all the characters, have had multiple new palettes for their sprites, and I believe all of them were done by Scala, and they're just absolutely incredible and a joy to see.
Yeah, that's why Rosa here looks like Wonder Woman. It's why this Rydia has purple hair.
And
go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay, I was just going to make a note. We saw what looked like could be either Elements or Ruby at that Ruby spot.
Absolutely. It's either vanilla or it is the Elements fight. Elements fight would be rather nice here, because as long as you don't tip it to the Rubicante form or later, it doesn't hit much in the Mylon Z form. It's weak to Fire 2, and if you just reflect spells at it using Star Veils or the Wall spell, well, you're not going to see that transformation. So that can be a very easy fight. You probably don't even need to worry about full clearing Overworld if you want to break down into the underground.
It's a very interesting way on how you're able to keep it in that Mylon Z with Reflect. So if I got this correctly, it's because of a counter when he takes enough damage. Isn't that?
Absolutely. With the way scripting actually works, not just in Free Enterprise, but in vanilla Final Fantasy IV, this is used in the No 64 speedrun to great effect. As long as you don't do direct damage at a certain point in a boss's script, reaction scripts don't activate. So if you do reflected damage, you completely bypass these reaction scripts, and you don't have to worry with various nasty counters, boss transformations, HP refills, you name it. Wonderful trick to have in your pocket in this game.
It's really a nice trick you can have. Simbu was doing some shopping at Troya, and I managed to catch that Silk Webs and Cure 2s were for sale there. Cure 2's not as useful with the Rosa, but Silk Webs do have some good use across the...
Oh yeah, Silk Webs are such a tricky thing, I find. If I happen to find a cursed ring or something early that lets me do funky agility manipulation, I won't get too many of them. But there are other seeds where if I can't get good agility anchoring going on, where yes, give me all the Silk Webs, I don't want to deal with really fast bosses just wrecking my party.
It's all about that potential that they can have and what you have for your party. So we also saw that the Eblon character was a Sid. I missed that a minute ago.
Yeah, so although Sid is not the biggest bruiser in the game, for where we are right now, he'll do great with heavy armor, axes, he can even use bows. Perfectly fine character to have in the middle game, or even the end game more as a chemist than as a pure DPS, so welcome addition for this team.
It is a welcome addition, and he's also pretty solid early. He comes in with some pretty good levels, fairly solid HP for the early game, and you find, even just an Ogre Axe, and he can do some work for you.
Yeah, and one thing I did spot out of the corner of my eye earlier when SwimmyLionni was peeking the Eblin Cave weapon shop, he picked up a mute knife to boost these Black Mages' magic power, but they also had an Earth Hammer. I don't know if he bought this one there or if he found it in a chest, but it's going to let his Sid just dunk on this football gauntlet very quickly using it as an item.
That Earth Hammer is going to make a lot of work. I think they had found an Earth Hammer somewhere.
Okay, then he probably didn't have to shell out the cash on it. Anyway, Simbu has found that there is a second boss fight here a free second boss fight in the Baron Inn. King and Queen Eblin, free bosses are set, so if their script in vanilla makes them extra vulnerable, they're extra vulnerable here. They're going to cast a bunch of spells, become conscious, and eliminate themselves.
Yeah, I love running into a free boss at this spot, especially early on when you might not have a lot of damage to get through 4,000 HP. And this spot is deceptively nasty sometimes. Of course, the previous boss was a Pale Dim, so for not very scary, kind of wish Pale Dim would show up late.
Swimmy here, still working on this gauntlet. He has not actually gone to Hobbs to pick up his Rosa yet. Curious. And penguin8r here looks like he is just choosing to be, Legend Sword at the Baron Inn. That's required. That's half the crystal. Already found an overworld. We may not have to be doing too much globetrotting to find it.
We already have Legend, we have the pass, and we have the hook. Realistically, all we need is the adamant. But the big question is where is it? Because it could still literally be anywhere. So we could be in for a very quick seed, or we could end up in a seed that's going to, you know, be 28 out of 28, just because that's how randomizers sometimes like to work.
Absolutely. And if we do find a very early go mode, I'll be excited to see how these three racers play it. Simbu has mentioned to me in chat over on the Discord several times that he's kind of missed the really jetty seeds from when you're playing with just the crystal in the pool instead of having to forge it. And maybe this one's going to do him that favor that he's been looking forward to.
That would be very interesting, because jet seeds, they're just so much different from the long searching seeds, because usually with the long searching seeds you just get a bunch of levels naturally, whereas in a jet seed you may only be at like level 20 with 5 key items and have to go to Zeromus.
Yep, and have to figure out your optimum grind in that situation. One thing I've noticed strategically this match, by the way, that, you know, Swimmy went and dove that hook. He wanted to see who he was up against and what character he has. penguin8r here seems to be inclined to say, I can ride out this overworld just using Palom and Rosa for the most part. Rydia with this heroine robe, even better. So let me not double dip Evelyn if I can help it. And he's doing a pretty good job of getting through every boss that stood in his way.
It's very true. That heroine robe going to put in some extra work. Palom, just a really good character all around. Gets some really nice spells early, and just he's really nice. We now see Swimmy getting that Rosa, taking care of that Kaipo fight, using Thor Rages to great effect to quickly quickly clear out all the weaker enemies for that fight.
We finally have what I consider a kind of spicy boss here. We have a back attack Asura up here on Ordeals. She will punch pretty hard. Not sure if penguin8r has been to Kaipo to buy those illusions yet. So, does his Palom know Quake yet, or are we going to be reflecting some viruses at her? I'm curious.
Looks like he has an Elven Bow or Mute Arrows on that Rosa. She's going to do some really good damage, and has Asura with the Reflect on, so Asura's not going to be able to heal herself.
Yeah, and also that heroine robe. Yeah, Rose is a little overpowered here. You love to see it. You love to see her at these relatively low levels doing nearly 2,000 damage with a single arrow. Yeah, this Asura is not standing in penguin8r's way.
And speaking of the Elven Bow, the first boss was the Mega Sister, so both of those bosses weak to mage killing equipment like that Elven.
Yeah, it's almost like they got kicked out of Zot and had to move to the mountains. Both these fights, you know, going back to back in the vanilla game, and now back to back right here.
I thought Valvalis was after the Mega Sisters.
Oh, I am. Look, it's been a long day. I don't know why I got Asura and Valvalis mixed up. That made no sense whatsoever. But either way, yes, both mage types. Only mage type we have left then, well, the Elements fight has one mage type part, and then the Baron guards are out there somewhere.
I believe Penguin just got a defense sword from Ordeals and runs into Odin. I love seeing Odin in this spot because he can be really nasty in the right area.
Oh yeah, with these lightning arrows and of course having, oh yeah, one shot, boom, out of here.
You blink and miss it.
That's one thing that Free Enterprise really rewards players for knowing all their bosses' weaknesses, whether it's a racial class type or an elemental type. Just knowing those and knowing what's in your inventory and what you have that will do double or quadruple damage gets you through these fights so much faster than if you're just doing plain Jane DPS.
That's very, very true. And all three of our runners, I guarantee you, knows all these bosses' weaknesses that they can exploit. SwimmyLionni now taking on that Baron in. With that hook, a lot of times runners, they love to avoid Ordeals if they don't have to do it, but with a hook, you want to see if maybe, just maybe, you can luck into that magma key.
You know, it won't surprise me if some of our characters skip it, though. We've not seen a Cecil anywhere, so the Crystal Sword, not really doing us any favors right now. We've not seen a Tella or a Fu, the other two main characters who really get buffed by doing ordeals. Fu, of course, from just having 3 additional boss fights to round out his spell list with the Fu challenge flag. And Tella, of course, unlocks his full spell suite once you clear the top. So, Swimmy, are you going to join your competition at ordeals, or are you ready to roll underground? I'm hoping for underground, just to have a little variety here.
I think underground would be a really smart play. Again, ordeals is a bit of a time sink. Looks like he's going to check this mist cave first.
Did not save beforehand. Did he save right before he left Baron?
I think he saved just before he left Baron. And to answer Little Sharky in chat, yes, with this flag set, you were able to have duplicate characters, so you could get lucky and end up with like 5 Cecils in a seed, or you could turn around and end up with like 2 Tellas, and Edward, and nothing that's going to kill bosses quickly.
2 Porums, 2 Tellas, and Edward. Hashtag the dream.
I have a soft spot for Porum and think she's actually a decent character in most circumstances, except for the Zeromus fight.
I mean, that's understandable that you'd have a soft spot for Porum, because she is basically one big soft spot on your team that just gets squished by most bosses. But no, she's great. Any white mage is really helpful. Any character who learns the blink spell is okay in my book in this game. So
Porum's, I will never argue that she is the superior white mage, but she's still a good addition to a party, just being a white mage. But Swimmy heading up ordeals as well, so all of our runners are going to do full overworld clearing today.
Yep, and this does mean that Swimmy lost. Oh, by the way, he has 3 Odin summons in his inventory. Of course, you don't get any value out of any of the first. You probably don't even get value out of the initial one. So just the fact that Swimmy is collecting Odins, I kind of find it funny.
I mean, you're collecting the King of Baron. That's got to be worth something for someone, right?
Get 3 Kings of Baron and 2 Queens of the Feymarch, and you have a pretty good poker hand, I suppose.
Simbu's doing something interesting here. He used a siren to summon the Liliths on Mount Ordeals.
Well, we know that at this point, I believe Simbu has checked the vanilla spots that Mist Dragon could be. So now if we know we have to go through Hook Path, I perfectly understand taking these 5,500 XP a pop to go ahead and get Bursk on your Rosa, Quake on your Palom. Go ahead and get these now, and you can tear through pretty much anything at the hook spot.
This is very, very true. Bursk on Rosa means you can get your Bruiser and Yang to just attack, and he's going to do pretty good damage. And Quake Kid with Quake is just very nice, especially in the underground where boss is going to start getting a little bit more difficult.
Penguin8r finishing up his overworld checks now. And yeah, both Penguin8r and Simbu didn't do that initial dip. They were comfortable enough with their team to not bother, which means they have a tiny bit of an advantage here on Swimmy. And now Simbu taking the time to grind, we'll see if that gives him an advantage over Penguin8r as well. Because Penguin8r already down the mountain, just waiting to head through that cave Babel now.
It's very true. This little bit of a grind probably will make a little bit of a difference, because having Quake for Palom is going to make a pretty big difference. And Rosa with Berserk, if you decide you want to do the Mad Ogre chest, you can at least Berserk Yang and you can get through it a little bit quicker.
Well, don't forget, we do have those Elven Bows around, and they will do quadruple damage to the Ogres as well. I might just let Rosa take care of that fight herself, if she still has the Heroine robe at least.
Well, that's very true. I forget sometimes that they are, for whatever reason, a mage-type enemy, and that Elven Bow does a lot of damage to.
Swimmy, by the way, up here, choosing to hoard his Star Veils rather than burn 2 of them to get Reflect up, showing off the Lifelock strategy to keep Asura on that blue face. She can't heal up then, regardless of whether or not she has the Reflect status. And he's through there without even burning 1 Veil. Well done by Swimmy.
Very nicely done. That trick sometimes is a little bit more difficult to pull off. than you realize, but making great use of it and saving a little bit more expensive item that you probably don't want to have to buy more of.
Simbu content with his grind. Does he have more shopping to do, or is he ready to go underground? Looks like heading
like he's
to that hovercraft, yeah. Oh, he never activated it. He still has to go through Damsian.
Always hoping for that dream where you don't have to activate the hovercraft.
And by the way, shout out to Wells JC in chat with 55 months of supporting RPG Limit Break. That is a streak right there. Thanks, Wells.
That is an incredible streak. Thank you so much.
So we found a defense sword, a crystal sword. There's a couple of blizzard spears. We have so much great weaponry for Cecils and Canes, and not a one to be seen. Given that everyone's done ordeals, it won't surprise me to see a fairly swift dwarf castle check underground, just in the hopes of picking up a paladin Cecil and putting this crystal sword to use.
That would be an amazing dream, seeing paladin Cecil there. But even if you get like a cane or a foo, not something to scoff at either.
Oh yeah, that defense sword it's actually mathematically Kane's ultimate weapon if you're not hitting a weakness until he hits level 68. So at which point the accuracy boosts make up for the spear situation. So we've got great gear for either one of them, just can't find them.
Something we missed before, the Evelyn shop has the Bacchus wines tonight.
Ooh, that's always it's always a little tricky, I think, when they're in either that shop or Feymarch, because it's not the kind of shop you want to have to return to buy more later, and because of how expensive the wines are, you probably aren't buying, a huge stack like you can on the moon. So maybe we'll see our runners being a little judicious in how quickly they blast through their wine supply tonight.
This is very true. The Evelyn Cave, not the most fun to have to return to, but the nice thing is you do have that Rosa, so she will have burst, and you can kind of use that if you don't want to use your wine.
Penguin8r here, taking the time to fight the Mad Ogre chest. This is a really great source of experience, especially if you use the life glitch, the one glitch we have active on this flag set. You want to talk about the life glitch just a little bit, Tarasi?
Sure. So the life glitch is, well, the interesting thing about this game is the enemies have their vitality stat set to 0, and when you use life on that, they're resurrected with 0 HP and die again. So you're able to use life to get the XP twice from the same enemy. And if you're really good, you can even sometimes get 2 lives on the same enemy and get triple XP.
Yeah, which I think Penguin8r did with that front ogre. Very well executed there.
That's very well done. Not easy to do.
8 ogres for the price of 4. The Tower of Babel's having a BOGO sell this week. You love to see it. Just think of the savings.
Think of how happy Rydia will be. She's getting some decent experience early.
Well, and I think Penguin8r is really looking forward to getting the double or triple XP on his Yang as well. Yang benefits from levels more than any other fighter. His weapons don't actually add attack power. It just scales with his level and stats. So getting this XP multiplier here is going to be really great for Yang.
So you mentioned he's going to get triple XP. Do you want to explain that for our viewers?
Oh, yeah. Well, if you look at the flag set there, where it says XSBK, there are 3 different quality of life improvements to Free Enterprise beyond the vanilla leveling up system. You get shared XP, which means that all 5 characters get the same amount. It's not split between all 5 of them. You get a bonus XP if you hit 10 key items. That doubles it. And then you also have an extra amount for if you're falling behind other characters. Actually, B is bonus, K is key items. So if you're behind the median by 5 levels, you get another double. If you're behind the median party level by 10 levels, you get triple. This way, if you're at the end game and you find a new character, you don't have to think, oh, it's going to take forever to level them up. No, take them. They'll get their levels. They'll get caught up pretty quickly.
It's a very nice quality of life improvement, and Yang being able to take advantage of that, quickly getting a lot of levels. We did see Simbu. He completely ignored all the chests in Upper Babel, so already on this first fight, which is Antlion.
Yeah, I definitely understand Simbu doing that. He did his little mini grind up on ordeals. And Antlion, a very rough boss here. It's going to hit hard, it's going to hit fast. The counter even does good damage. You can't just zerk your party members up and punch it. It's really going to come down to his Quack Kid getting enough damage in, and he does just that.
Just to note, he did berserk the Rosa.
I guess he figured clogging the queue was far more important than that 200 to 300 damage it was dealing with the counter. Let's see if penguin8r has as easy of a time with this bug.
Antlion, not the friendliest boss. It counterattacks all of your physical attacks using the fight command specifically with counter, which is those spikes, and it can hurt and ignores your blue.
But now penguin8r does have a big stack of illusions. He did throw a silk web, so he should be able to win this through attrition. Just let Palom bluff up, cast some big spells, keep those illusions on him and Rosa, and penguin8r will get through this fight just fine as well.
Very, very true. And Simbu now making his way. So is this going to be Elements or Ruby?
Element's definitely the easier option here, but Ruby shouldn't be that bad with this party either.
It is Elements, so probably one of the easiest fights in this spot, especially when you've got a Palom. Oh, this is going to be a lot of fun. And then a Rosa who can use Cure 2 as well to damage this.
Oh yeah, the great thing about the Elements fight is, again, in vanilla, because you couldn't have a boss with more than 65,000 HP, it's one of two fights, it and Zeromus, that instead of giving it the 100,000, 120,000 XP they wanted to, they split it into two forms, and when you get it below a certain amount, it changes to the next form. So what you can do instead is, rather than doing direct damage, reflect the damage. It never gets to activate that counter that refills its HP, and ta-da, you're through.
Unfortunately, this first fight in the Elements does not like Simbu's Palom, so having a little bit of trouble keeping the Quake Kid up.
And he'll get the illusions going, and he'll be fine. Simbu's gonna get through this.
Very, very true. Simbu, an incredible runner. penguin8r also on this Elements fight, getting his setup going.
Swimmy having looks like in a little dangerous situation here, taking a wipe to the Antlion. Gonna have to regroup and reapproach this fight a second time.
Antlion's just not a fun boss in this spot.
It's kind of funny, although it's the King Queen and Eblin spot, they for some reason were programmed with rather high physical attack strength. They never use a single physical attack in the vanilla game, but that's still preserved at the boss spot, and so you get a physical attacker here, and it's gonna hurt.
This is very, very true. There's a couple spots that just have some very weird stats you wouldn't expect, and King Queen Eblin, like you said, has a strangely strong physical attack.
Simbu does start getting those fire 2s off, though. 4,000 damage. It's only going to take about 3 of those to knock this fight out. You don't have to go through the full 25,000 HP. You only have to go through about half of that, because, again, of how it's split between two forms. And each of those two forms has 2 sprites. Either way, we basically only have to deal with half the HP at this spot. You'll love to see it.
It's really nice to only have to deal with half the HP. The only quote-unquote drawback is you only get half the EXP, though.
Yeah, and we have seen sirens, though, so as soon as we get through here, we're underground. We can farm all the yellow dragon eggs we want to the tune of 34,000 apiece. So I definitely worry about that on seeds where I don't have sirens. I'm like, oh, I actually have to worry about all the XP I get along the way. But these 3 racers, they're just going to want to break on through to the underside.
Very, very true. We did see that Star Veil fell off of Rosa, so Palom not doing any favors in killing off the White Maid.
Hey, it's fine. The Mylon Z part here can still only punch 1 character at a time, so no worries.
We see Penguin just going straight damage, going through the fight normally, and now on the Kanatsu form. So it has gone to its third phase, but second form. Weird fight.
Yeah, he refilled the HP. It looked like he was trying to do reflex strats, but got a little annoyed with how many of his characters are getting cursed. And then his Young did 3,000 to the Fire Weak Mylon Z. Rosa did 3,000 to the Mage type Rubicante. And now we're working on the Thunder Weak form here with Ganatsu. The Simbu skipped that refill. He will be the first one of our 3 racers underground. Let's see how he routes it.
Underground gives you a lot more choices to go, so always interesting to see how different runners route. And taking a peek, and we see that that's an evil wall. That's not the worst spot for.
Yeah, it's a spot that won't punch too hard. Evil Wall, you hate to see anywhere with too much HP though, just because it doesn't take breaks. It moves, it punches, it moves, it punches, it moves, it punches. And then once it gets to the insta-kill part, you can probably win through attrition, but that's not a fight that I'd be excited about. Let me find a tower key before I run up Babel, I think.
See if any of our runners are brave enough to do the keyless tower, but not a play you usually see. I would probably guess either going to Dwarf Castle or Feymarch first.
Yeah, it looks like Simbu's doing exactly that. Going to Dwarf Castle, his team's strong enough to deal with nearly any boss here, I think. And we would love to see a Cecil or Kane for add a little physical DPS to this party.
Exactly. Probably just looking for a character to replace, I would assume, Rydia in this party.
Yeah, I'm feeling that as well. Penguin8r, meanwhile, second one through. I'm wondering if Swimmy is going to be a little more, let's say, gambly when he gets underground. He knows that he took the time to peek that character already, which caused, well, earlier his initial dip into Evelyn cost him a little bit of time. The wipe to Antlion cost him a little bit of time. If he feels behind, we might be seeing some interesting risks from Mr. Lionni.
Our first boss in Dwarf Castle is the Water Hag. That's actually kind of nice. Just 3 hits and it's going to be dead.
It's going to hit pretty hard at this spot, but it shouldn't take that long to get it knocked down.
We'll do some decent damage, but again, this spot's not too terribly scary, so shouldn't have any trouble with this.
Oh, yeah. You are a little sad to see Water Hag here instead of in a nastier spot, maybe up on the moon. But because we still have a lot of bosses that can end up being in those rude spots later. Really hoping that we have to do a little more work here to get the adamant. Jet Seeds may be interesting, but I want to see some more rude bosses.
We've seen several of our free bosses already in the King, Queen, Kaipo, and now Water Hag. And I guess technically you could say Fabul is somewhat free. So that moon could start being very scary. Ooh, CPU after Water Hag.
This is actually a really good place to see CPU. A Quake will probably one-shot this. And it's Vanilla Iridia. Yeah, no. Throwing her away in a hurry. I am a little surprised he didn't take her to upgrade his anchor, though. She would be slower than the current one.
This is very true, but one thing I did notice, Penguin checked that chest, and it was a Bahamut summon for the key item check in Feymarch.
Ooh, that definitely makes Rydia a player on this party now. Usually she's so slow to get good black magic spells, but if you can just give her the Dragon God out the gate here, all of a sudden she's doing all the work that Palom is, maybe a little more.
Very, very true. When Rydia, one of those characters that usually takes a long time to get online, but if you could find one of those really good summons, and Bahamut being the best, Rydia becomes a very powerful character, and why she is my absolute favorite. I love getting that Bahamut, or even just Leviathan and Sylph is great.
Yep. Gonna get a quick peek at these bosses. All right, so we know that that is Mylon and Friend and the Dark Imps. So both of these fights are relatively easy. Penguin8r is going to knock them out. Fripsider asking in chat, where is Swoon? Well, this playoff division started with four players. One of them lost over the course of this past week and is booted out. We're down to just these three, and last place also goes home tonight. So that's why we have Swoon Edward over in the bottom right tonight.
All right. Dwarf Castle has the twin harp. I know that's going to be chat's favorite item.
Yeah, for those of you who are new to Free Enterprise, the twin harp pool is not just that one Eddie theme. The developer Boardface has gone through and added tons of twin harp remixes of some of your favorite video game songs. So fingers crossed we're required to check that tonight. It's probably my favorite little Easter egg, cute thing that's added to this randomizer.
There's a whole bunch of incredible songs, and some of them sound really, really neat on that harp. And Simbu's doing something interesting that you usually don't see. He is looting Dwarf Castle.
Yeah, I know that there were a few places early on that I think he skipped looting. Like, I think he just blasted through Cave Evelyn and Upper Babel, not wanting to do either trap chest. So this may be him just getting a little extra spending cash for whatever valuable items he finds underground. Penguin8r, by the way, took a wipe to these Dark Imps. Do not underestimate Dark Imps at Leviathan. They will cut you.
Do not underestimate mini bosses at Leviathan. They hurt. Leviathan is a pretty nasty spot. I did want to point out, Simbu found a sorcerer robe in that Dwarf Castle, so that's a really nice piece of gear for either Rosa or Palom.
And we are seeing rough situations here for Penguin8r and SwimmyLionni. Penguin8r took 2 wipes to the Dark Imps. SwimmyLionni has taken 2 wipes to this Elements fight. So both of them getting a little hung up here. I believe Simbu's our only racer not to take a boss wipe this seed.
This is very true. All Penguin8r wants to do is get an hourglass on these Dark Imps, but as you can see, Leviathan is very fast and hits very hard. It's not the easiest thing to do. Looks like he did it. If he gets the character up, I think he's okay.
Well, the thing is that I think these imps all have punches queued up. Yep. It may be optimum here to move your Yang and your Sid to the back row, just so they take a little reduced damage. If either of them could survive one hit instead of getting completely one shot, I think Penguin8r gets this taken care of.
Very, very true. Back row, nice for being able to get some extra defense. We also saw Cure 3s for sale in Feymarch. Gonna be pretty useful for right now, especially since Rosa doesn't have Cure 3 as far as I know. Swimmy now on the Kainatsu form of the Elements fight. Shouldn't have too much trouble left with it, I hope.
Yeah, the Kainatsu form will use Wave, which does 4% of its current HP, which if it has about, let's just round up to 13,000, will do about 520 damage, which if this team's healthy, should be able to deal with that. I do like that Penguin8r spammed multiple hourglasses. He did not want to risk the one character who used an hourglass dying here. So popped him with both just to make sure that stop got stuck on the Dark Imps.
Very nicely done. So now this fight shouldn't have any more trouble with it. Simbu taking his crack at the Dark Imps.
And Swimmy is finally through this Elements fight. GG's, stymied him a little bit. Of course, the only new key item we've seen is the Twin Harp Underground, so Swimmy's not far behind. He may have had a little trouble with that fight, but he still has perfectly good chance to win this race.
Penguin8r casts Odin on the Dark Imps, instantly wipes them out, and Simbu takes the wipe to him.
Dark Imp's most lethal boss this seed. I'm digging it. I am digging it.
You know, they always get called a free boss. They've got to get their licks in sometimes, but is rewarded with that Earth Crystal.
I like that as 2 more characters, and I don't care how far along I am, I will take a Crystal Sword, Cecil, if given the opportunity.
Very, very true. And Simbu, who is trying to take on this Dark Imps, also has that Twin Harp, so he could potentially route those two together.
Oh yeah, that's a great sequence to be able to do. If you have to land at Troya to do either of those dungeons, you kind of want to do them both at the same time. So, pretty good get here if Simbu can get through this fight. But these Dark Imps are not going easy on anyone.
He did the same thing as penguin8r and got multiple hourglasses queued up. 2 of them hit, so I think Simbu gets it.
Looks good to me. penguin8r popping that Bahamut summon on Rydia and coming back to take care of Mylon and friends. This one should be a little slower, but it's going to be done in 1 try.
Very, very true. So Swimmy took a quick peek in Tomra. Unfortunately, he didn't give us a job door check, but the item shop in there not holding anything of interest.
And he is going to our little peninsula of power, our little egg beach. Going to be popping some of these sirens, grinding a few levels. He bought 20 of them earlier, so depending on how high he wants to go here, this party will just clean sweep everything in Swimmy's way going forward.
Very, very true. You'll get some nice spells for Palom. Rydia will maybe have a little bit of HP. Yang will be a lot more powerful, and Rosa's just going to be absolutely amazing with how quickly she learns her white magic.
Oh, I don't know the hit rate of Odin. To me, the Odin spell is something I sell for 15,000 gold. I don't keep Odin. I don't use Odin. Odin is money in the bank to me. You'd have to ask someone someone with a little more experience with it.
As far as I'm concerned, just like you, Odin is money. It has potential use, but 9 times out of 10, if I'm going for instant death, I've probably got coffins, and those are guaranteed to hit.
So our racers are surprisingly lucky, I would say, that Rydia was the Dwarf Castle character. Not Rosa, pardon me. Rydia was the Dwarf Castle character. And then we have the Bahamut summon here. Because, like in Simbu's case, he went there first, probably hoping to get rid of her. The game said, nope, you're keeping Rydia. And then you get a Bahamut summon anyway. So that's remarkably convenient for our racers. And Swimmy about to have the same experience, it looks like.
Very, very true. It always feels somewhat bad when you get rid of Rydia and then immediately find Bahamut. Even if you can't use Bahamut in the Zeromus fight, it's still really nice for most of the fights in the game, provided you can keep Rydia alive.
I mean, as a kid playing this game, before I really understood all the things that we know now via the randomizer and knowing the vanilla speedruns, I cast plenty of Bahamuts at the Zeromus fight. I mean, sometimes it made big bangs do more damage instead of less, but it was still pretty fun.
Oh, it was lots of fun. I just never understood why my party was dying all the time. penguin8r gets a ribbon from Mylon and friends. Not progression, but something you definitely like to see.
Oh yeah, great status protection. That pretty much makes the Evil Wall fight up in Babel free. Its Crush will not be able to insta-gib whoever's wearing that. So yeah, not a bad piece of gear. It's not progression. It doesn't give stat boost, but still great defense, both physical, magical, and status.
So we're now entering into his water hag fight. Shouldn't have any trouble getting through this Dwarf Castle and get that Twin Heart. And yep. Simbu making pretty fast work of Mylon. Not a difficult fight.
Yeah, I'm curious to see, because again, Swimmy knows he took those wipes. And one of the main things if you're racing is you always need to play a little bit like you're behind, but when you have a situation like that and you can be fairly certain you're behind, you really have to consider what kind of gambles you're willing to make. So I'm interested to see what he ends up rolling with.
Very, very true. A couple wipes can always change how you're thinking and approach a seed. And sometimes those wipes can end up leading you to a check you normally wouldn't do, which can pay off. We also see penguin8r heading over to that Dwarf castle. Not going to be too ecstatic to see the Rydia.
Well, you say that, but penguin8r does have that Bahamut summon already. Maybe he ditches, I don't know, Sid to get double Bahamut going on. Maybe he ditches Rosa, thinking that the Asura spell can be his healing. Nah, he's not ditching Rosa, but
I don't know anyone that would ditch Rosa.
Yeah, but honestly, a second Rydia is not the worst thing with this party for clearing out bosses in a hurry. Just spam double Bahamuts and everything.
This is very, very true. Swimmy choosing to take that second Rydia could keep her as an agility anchor if he so chose, but looks like he's going to get the EXP on her with a quick wake to wipe out that CPU.
Oh yeah, and she's so far behind, she'll get triple here, getting 60,000. She can probably still be a decent anchor even with that much XP. Rydia starts off very slow in the early game, like agility of 4 or so, I think.
I believe it is 4. She is very, very slow, and even when she gets her levels, doesn't get the greatest agility. Ooh, that's a Dragon Whip in Tomra.
Did Simbu talk to the Job Dwarf, or did we go 0 for 3 on temp Job Dwarf tonight?
He did talk to the Job Dwarf. Unfortunately, he is able to click text boxes too fast, and I couldn't.
Well, I think he's the only one of the 3 who did, so props to him for that. I'm going to hit this clip button and see if I can't get a... Oh, publications editor. Thank you, chat.
Chat, always able to catch the things we can't.
The speed readers, thank you so much. For those of you who are wondering what we're talking about, in the vanilla game, that dwarf says, "I am a farmer." What a great line. And a community member and commentator extraordinaire Rex Raul was like, wait a minute, why don't you give it a random job each time? So it's one of our little memes. Love to check the dwarf, see what its temp job is tonight.
All right. We now have SwimmyLionni going down into that Fey Marsh, going to see what are somewhat free bosses down there. And Simbu has set up Sheila 1.
Hey, Netsky, thank you for the Limit Break sub. And by the way, huge shout out to Limit Break for letting us host so many of our matches of this tournament on their channel. If you're not following RPG Limit Break, make sure you do. Great RPG content year-round, not just at the main live marathon. Had a ton of great events over the last couple months, so hit that follow button on RPG Limit Break if you haven't already.
It's been a great pleasure working with RPG Limit Break for the Highway to the Zemus Zone. I can't say enough good things about it.
And I dare say, Simbu's taken this kind of early lead, doing that Lilith grind, let him get through the Babel bosses easy, and then he was able to just dunk on both Fey March bosses without too much trouble. Did take, I believe, 1 wipe and then got it second try. He's looking in great shape, and he even has that beautiful chain where you can go Cave Magnus, which after you're done with that, you're back at the Tower of Zot. You do Tower of Zot, spits you right out at Baron. We have this wonderful little triple key chain of items. I'm wondering if anyone's going to skip any of them.
That would be interesting. If you find something worthwhile to make you skip it, it could be worth it. But you love getting Twin Harp, Earth Crystal, and Baron Key and being able to check all of them one after another.
But again, if you know that you're up against racers of this caliber, and do you just assume I'm fast enough to just play my game and win? Or do I need to make a gamble?
And looks like Simbu's going to go to Baron Castle first. I respect it. And, all that happens when you finish Zod is you get put out here.
Yeah. And meanwhile, penguin8r did not do the Sheila 1 check, so he won't have a Baron Key. We're finally getting some good divergence this seed. Simbu going into Baron, penguin8r going to go up to Cave Magnus. We're going to get music. So someone's going to probably pull ahead here, and someone is getting Rabbit Hold.
The big question is, who is it going to be?
And of course, this in turn gives Swimmy a big opportunity here. Depending on if he just happens to choose his own adventure correctly when he's out of this Fey March, puts him back in really great shape.
Yeah, he's a little bit behind the other two runners, but it's still the randomizer. You can still make up a lot of time fairly easily if you know what you're doing. And SwimmyLionni is a really good runner, and always a pleasure to watch him. Same with penguin8r and Simbu. So you got to wonder how Swimmy's feeling about those white.
Especially just knowing who you're up against. I do like that both penguin8r and Simbu are kind of fighting a dark elf at the same time.
Yeah, the only difference is one of the dark elves is going to kill you, and the other one is you're going to kill. Or you can do like penguin8r is doing and commit suicide.
Yeah, knocking out his own team here, choosing to swoon everyone, ends the fight faster rather than having to wait for all the dark elf spells to go off and get you there. It's a scripted fight, but I'm going to chill out for a minute because I want to hear this Twin Harp song. Listen closely, folks. We'll be back with you in just a sec. Tarasu, have you had the opportunity yet to play Lufia 2, Rise of the Sinistrals?
It is a great game, and this is the first time I've ever heard the song on harp. Really, really nicely done, and runs into the dolls, a fairly easy fight. Meanwhile, Simbu also finding Bahamut, so throwing Bahamut at Bahamut.
Yeah, the dolls here in this spot, I believe that even with the this being the Dark Elf spot, that usually has high magic power. I think this Quake that penguin8r has queued up should clear it out rather easily if Bahamut doesn't get cast first.
But did, just in case, throw an Hourglass to stop the cowls but Bahamut doing 6,000 damage to everything and quickly wiping it out. Simbu gets a cane.
And ditches Sid for him, makes a lot of sense. Kane ends up with pretty great HP, can equip all the heavy armor. We have a defense sword, which is Kane's ultimate weapon, more or less. And penguin8r may have given us the wonderful music tonight, but gets rewarded with only a Protect Ring. One of the two best rings in the game for defense, mind you. Great magic resistance, halves elemental damage, but you just did all that cutscene for no progression.
Yeah, as great as the Protect Ring is, sometimes you just don't want to see it.
Simbu, meanwhile, we're an hour in and still don't have the Darkness Crystal.
Oh, there's the spoon. We know where an edge is, so that's something. Unfortunately, everyone's favorite flag, the spoon flag, is not on, so at least it's a key item.
That's true. And once we do hit 10 key items, we start getting double XP, which is pretty nice. Simbu here, heading down to the Odin spot, one of the places in the vanilla game you can pick up a summon if you like, and it is a potential key item spot, but this will kind of tell us if either penguin8r or Simbu has chosen wisely. Or they could both be wrong, and it could be at Single Dip Tower.
Odin spot is Ruby. Not the worst thing you can see here, but he's still really nasty.
Simbu's got the skills to get through here, though. I think he'll be able to pull this off.
Oh, certainly. He definitely knows what he's doing, is going to know how to handle this Ruby. Getting set up, making sure to throw a Silk Web, and of course has Bahamut, so Rydia's going to do some really nice damage to.
Yeah, the spot has not too high of HP. Of course, I swear the AI knows who has queued up the spell. It knows. And The punches here are also going to be kind of rude. Ruby will alternate a single punch, well, a glare, a single punch, a glare, a double punch, glare, single punch, back and forth, back and forth. So he can't kill more than 2 characters at a time. So Simbu should win this by attrition. But you still love to see just any mage get sniped with that glare spell.
It seems to happen more often than not. We also see the first boss in Zot is the Dr. Luge fight. Not the most difficult fight in most spots, just more of a time sink.
Yeah, one thing to note here is that with the Ruby fight, you definitely don't want to Zerk your characters. You don't want to use plane attacks. Each of those will get you a multi-target Fire 2 counter. So Simbu's here been very cautious to use that power move on Young, using jump on Kane. This way, he's getting in the little bit of bonus damage, but he's not eating a whole extra Fire 2 to the team faces.
And penguin8r, one of the first characters in Zot, is another Kane, so that's going to be very nice for his party. Simbu gets through Ruby, not any real trouble, and just a pink tail.
All right, so penguin8r looking in great shape here, because knowing him, I don't know. I don't know if he would do a single dip tower or do the Sheila check, but either way, guess what?
He is now going to be set for the rest of the seed. He has a Paladin Cecil with the crystals.
Yeah, he has ultimate weapons for both Kane and Cecil. He has Bahamuts on both Rydias. He really has like an overabundance of riches here to deal with. Choosing to not take a Kane, takes 1 Rydia. You feel bad to have that defense sword kicking around, Kane's ultimate weapon. Still doesn't get any respect from penguin8r here.
And Simbu doing something that, I see people forget every so often, and switching from the Falcon into the Enterprise.
I guess... Oh, he's just dropping it off. I thought he might check that pink tail just to figure, I've taken this time. Let me see if I do get value from this. But no. Just dropping it off in case he finds a rat tail down the road.
We have a little bit more vanilla tonight, and this seed's provided quite a bit of it. Val in her usual spot, and pretty nice spot to actually run into her at.
Yeah, only about 6,000 HP here, so should be able to chew through it fairly quickly. I do find it funny that penguin8r didn't take the Kane, so no breaking her spin, but when you have a Crystal Sword Cecil and a Yang in the 30s, you're not that worried.
No, this Val is not scary whatsoever. Cecil, even at level 1, dishing out over 1,000 damage to her swing, that Crystal Sword's going to do a lot of work. And it looks like we're getting double encore for music, both Swimmy and Simbu heading into Magnus Cave, or Cave Magnus.
And meanwhile, penguin8r is through this Val fight, so we're going to know very soon if this is our progression or the only remaining option, single dip tower.
Another thing to note, now that he's completed Zot, although he now has Cecil, Rosa also learns Exit.
An excellent, excellent additional convenience, for sure. Because we don't have another white mage who can cast it. Well, actually, Cecil probably knows it by now. That fight probably got it up to him as well. But yeah, until we picked up that Cecil, we had no source of exit other than the item, and that's... Ugh, you don't like having to lug those around.
And it looks like our progression is going to be on the moon. Zot leading to our Darkness Crystal.
So this is really great for penguin8r as long as it's not simply at the top of the Tower of Babel. He's going to be the first one to the moon, going to have his choice of which spots he wants to clean up here. Of course, Swimmy and Simbu both have that Earth Crystal. They're neck and neck. As long as Swimmy doesn't go into Baron, he's in great shape here as well. And I think his routing here lets him catch up to Simbu quite a bit.
This is very true. As long as he doesn't go to Baron, and judging from his pathing, he's going to go into Zot, should probably head straight to the moon. Moon has a lot of checks. The only thing is we still have some pretty nasty bosses still on the board, and they could be lurking on that moon.
Freako asking in chat, is someone in Babel? There are no characters there, but there are 2 boss checks. We took Upper Babel to get underground through the hook, but Lower Babel is still a dungeon we can go in. The Dr. Luge spot is always available. The other spot you have to have a tower key to unlock, so a lot of racers don't like going there unless they can do both spots at the same time.
And Simbu throwing out that Bahamut. Rydia actually doing a lot of work this seed and quickly wiping out the doll.
Penguin8r here, not checking the lunar shop. We have already seen Bacchus 1, we've already seen Cure 3s. Not a whole lot those rabbits could be selling, so I like him diving right here into the lunar subterrane. Makes a lot of sense.
It certainly does. There's nothing in that shop you could really want or need, especially since you know where everything else is. Simbu sees that protect ring and has set up a safe scum back at Troya. Our new character is poor.
Simbu not even taking the time to exit and fly back on the Chocobo. Does not want to take even those maybe like 20 or 30 seconds. He knows every bit counts. I like that move by Simbu there.
No, it certainly makes sense. When you're against runners of this caliber and only 2 out of 3 are advancing, you want to save as much time as you can.
Yeah. Oh, you know what else though? We don't have anyone who can cast Exit yet. That's another great reason to reset there.
This is very, very true. It looks like SwimmyLionni going to make use of that exit item and take the Protect Ring, though.
Yeah, he apparently bought a stack of 10 exit doors earlier in the seed, which, until you get the actual spell on someone, very handy idea. You don't want to have to walk out of Cave Magnus.
No, you certainly don't. It takes a little bit of time to get in that cave, and then walking out is just... Simbu on his Dr. Luge fight, and it looks like Penguin8r is heading straight down to the bottom. May pop a Siren just to get a couple levels, but you have a Crystal Sword Cecil. I don't know if you really would want.
Yeah, he even ditched Palom for Porum. I don't think Porum's going to see a single level this game. I think Penguin8r intends to ride out the rest of the seed using Bahamut, Crystal Sword Cecil, and Yang will probably get enough levels to also be doing very nice damage.
Very, very true. And probably won't have to do a whole lot of grinding. And you won't see Rydia get that nuke unless he ends up just naturally getting the levels. But Crystal Sword Cecil's just going to carry you through the entirety of this seed. It's such a great thing to have.
He's even arranging his party here with that really slow Porum in the middle. He's going to probably stab his own Porum with Crystal Sword Cecil and then instantly zerk him up with Rosa's next turn. Although Rosa's a little too fast here, actually beat Cecil to the punch. And also, this might not be a fight where you actually want to do zerking Crystal Sword Cecil. Those viruses might come out a little too fast for this team's HP to handle.
Just as another note, we have even more vanilla. This is the D-Lunar spot with D-Lunar.
So it appears Penguin8r here is just going ahead and preemptively planning. He is going to give us some froggies. He is not trying to out DPS these lunars. He's going to wait and let them basically take care of themselves for him.
This makes a lot of sense. When you attack the D-Lunars with a physical attack, what they do is they put wall on themselves and start reflecting virus. And that comes out fast and it hits pretty hard. It's very hard to DPS them down without turning them into frogs like he did here.
Yep, and managed to land it on both of them. It's a great thing to actually have reflect on more than one character. Sometimes you'll be in a situation where you get it on only one Lunar Dragon and not both. At this point, Penguin8r's free to life the rest of his party up and let that Crystal Sword Cecil just go to town on these. This is going to be some ludicrous damage, I think.
Quad 9s, the Crystal Sword having a little bit of holy damage on it, and these are undead, so going to just shred them.
Yep, making a point to life his Yang up, not letting any of this 100,000 XP go to waste.
No, once they're turned into frogs, it's basically free. There's nothing they can do to you.
Yeah. Especially because once you hit them, they don't even try to do physical attacks anymore, and you can't cast spells if you're a frog. It's not easy being green.
Very, very true. And we see quickly through that. Ooh, that's an Excalibur. Unfortunately, we already have the Crystal Sword.
Throw it in the trash, Penguin. Don't even take it. Throw it in the trash.
You never know. He could find a Sand Ruby, decides he wants to throw it at Zeromus.
Yeah. Also, you cannot life glitch the undead, and you cannot life glitch enemies with the boss bit. So, we got two different immunities to that going on with the lunar dragon. That Artemis bow, though, pretty handy. It does nerf your magic power, both white and black magic. So you probably won't use it with this team at this point, but it can be really handy for helping out your agility situation at the Zeromus fight.
Very, very true. It adds, is it plus 10 or plus 15 to your agility?
Oh, I'd have to pull up the chart. I just know it's enough. It adds enough.
No, the Artemis bow has a lot of uses besides being one of the strongest bows in the game. The strongest bow in the game, technically.
So penguin8r's looking pretty sharp here. Already cleared 2 of the checks on the moon by doing that lunar dragon spot first. Knew the strats, knew the tech to get through it. Did not have to grind up beforehand. And Leviathan at this spot, also not much of a threat. The big wave does a quarter max HP, and the Ice 2s are very weak at the plague spot. So, bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah, this Leviathan is just going to be a pushover. Simbu through Zot, now making his way to the moon, and SwimmyLionni very hot on his tail on this Val fight.
Yeah, we really hope to see that Swimmy does not do Baron Castle. If he does, he is going to fall back behind a bit. If he goes moon, he's right there neck and neck with Simbu. But I think penguin8r has definitely gained a lead at this point by not chasing the Sheila.
Oh, look, it is another legendary sword that we don't.
So just to recount the swords we found this game, we have a Crystal Sword, a Legend Sword, 2 Excaliburs, and the Defender, or I think in some translations that might be the Save the Queen. I'm not positive, but it's, yeah. penguin8r loading up with all this cutlery.
I mean, you love to see them, just don't have enough characters to really make use of them, unfortunately.
penguin8r here, kind of following the logical order, heading down to Ogopogo spot next.
And unfortunately, SwimmyLionni is diving that Baron key, so gonna fall further behind both Simbu and penguin8r.
Yeah, we know this spot doesn't have value. Simbu has already cleared both of them here, so that definitely doesn't bode well. Swimmy will need a Galaxy Brain play when he gets to the moon to catch up at this point.
This seed is just loading us up with a lot of vanilla. Ogopogo in his vanilla spot.
Smaepdii rolled this seed, I believe, so I guess he's starting a soft serve stand. Just here, you want vanilla? You want more vanilla? We have 2 flavors, vanilla and more vanilla. Hit that randomize button a little harder next time, Smaep.
Also to note, Simbu also taking the Porum, who we affectionately named Natara.
Daw. I mean, it makes sense. Porum is Natara's favorite character in this randomizer, I believe. So very nice of Simbu to name her after our wonderful workshop helper and outstanding community member.
And just to note, just like penguin8r, getting rid of the Palom for that Porum.
One thing Swimmy does have going for him, though, this Crystal Sword Cecil is definitely going to cleave through these Baron bosses pretty quickly. Still losing a little bit of time, but he's definitely carving them up much faster than Simbu did, I think.
Very, very true. That crystal sword doing a lot of work. And yet another holy sword that we do not need.
Cecil's just collecting them. Okay, so you know Cecil's cameo in Secret of Evermore? I think we're starting to understand how he got his weapon shop outfitted in Ebon Keep.
Apparently the Lunarians love collecting holy paladin swords.
I mean, it makes sense. The only way to become one was to receive a light from Kluya, so I guess it makes sense.
All right, SwimmyLionni finishing up that Bahamut fight. Once again, not having any trouble whatsoever. And Penguin heading to that Wyvern spot.
So if it's not at the Wyvern spot, Swimmy's in good shape if he does Cave Bahamut and then Pale Dim spot first. We've not found any progression on the moon. It would also likewise be hilarious if it's at a single dip tower waiting for us the entire time. So yeah, Swimmy can, again, just because of how many options there are on the moon, he chooses the right route, he's in great shape.
Smaepdii, are you sure you hit the randomize button? Because that is 3 lunar bosses in their vanilla spot, Wyvern at Wyvern.
Penguin8r taking the quick reset there. Wyvern much easier if you just do a quick adjustment to certain things on your team. Getting these walls set up very quickly.
Certainly lowered that battle speed. Getting 2 walls up shouldn't have any trouble with Wyvern from this point on.
Using what appears to be his last Bacchus one, though. He'll either have to go back to Eblan to buy some more, or just rely upon actually casting the spell manually. Or actually, are we just going to get a... We're probably just going to get an Avenger from this fight. Just let's round out our sword collection right here.
Invin the Witch has spoken. And Simbu making the same strat as Penguin8r, turning our lunar dragons into frogs.
Yeah, Wyvern Spot, by the way, has relatively low magic power. Even though it did knock out that Rydia, only did about 500 plus change to her. So through the spot in a hurry, we find. Okay, I like that even better.
Well, still wouldn't mind seeing 10 key items, so it is a key item, but not the key you're looking for.
So at this point, Penguin8r has to start worrying. I'm sure the back of his mind, he's now thinking, you know, I didn't do that single dip tower. I didn't do single dip Sheila. And you just know it's starting to claw its way into the back of his mind now.
Very, very true. That does weigh on your mind when you skip sometimes fairly simple checks like that. Not Penguin8r, Simbu threw away the legendary sword. So he's gonna doubly love this next key item.
Yeah. So at this point, I think we could actually still have a completely empty moon if we just have all the chains could still be on Earth. We could find Pan at the Dr. Luge spot. It could give us, say, the Sylphs could give us Tower Key. Sheila could give us the Rat Tail. Either of those could give us the Luca Key. We can still have to go to Sealed Cave. There are a lot of chains still in play at this point.
And we still haven't seen the D-Mist. Also to note, 4 of our 5 moon bosses were on the moon, and 3 of them were vanilla.
Plagues decided to move upstairs to a higher floor. Not going to be a problem here.
That level 1 Porum, Cecil with Berserk. I don't even think you would need to do Kamikaze with Yang here.
You don't. If you just circ the team up here, that counter will get to 0 and then stop ticking. But, you know, better safe than taking a wipe here for sure.
Very, very true. It always pays to have a little bit of safety.
All right, Swimmy, here's your chance. If you go to Bahamut and then to play and then to Pale Dim and either find your adamant or chase whatever's there, you make up all of this lost time. If Swimmy goes down to floor 7, that's probably his last chance.
Speaking of wanting to go top down, we have go mode, adamant from Plague at Pale Dim.
So penguin8r has all the goods at this point, does not need to go hunting anywhere else. Going to go ahead and do his grind here too. Even forging the crystal will not put him at 10 key items. So he's just going to go ahead and knock out gold dragons in this room to get his necessary levels. There's no way he goes for Nuke on Rydia here. He's going to get Rosa up to an appreciable HP amount, and then he is good to go.
This is very true. You don't need to get Nuke on Rydia. You have a Crystal Sword Cecil. You have a Yang who, even in the 40s, is going to do pretty solid damage. You have Rosa. You just want Cure 4 on her, and 2200 would be enough to get by. You'd be a little scared of high rolls on Big Bang, but you'll be okay for the most part. And that's all you need.
Yeah. And and Rosa does, well, so Big Bangs can do base either 2400 damage max or 2700 damage max. Of course, you have magic evade, you have magic defense, those both reduce this. And if you nerf them correctly, you bump it down to 1200 damage per Big Bang. So definitely something that you don't have to overgrind Rosa to deal with. This is penguin8r's seed to win. He is in firm control here.
Very, very true. He's in a very comfortable lead at this point in time. Simbu saw that nope rope and noped out of it, reset.
Now the question is, does he run back down there or does he climb up to the wyvern spot?
Looks like he just wanted to get a little bit of a different setup for that nope rope. So we need to see what Swimmy does here. Does he go straight to Pale Dim? And
this will pretty much determine it.
Looks like he's going straight down, and that could potentially lose him this race, unfortunately. Simbu already clearing out 2 bosses before him.
Yeah, I think that may seal Swimmy's fate tonight. I mean, you never can tell what can go wrong with these upcoming bosses, but penguin8r's in go mode. Simbu is 2 boss checks ahead. Yeah, maybe if we see a dot done before too long, so we might reset up and check another spot, but you probably won't. So
that's just a really hard thing to do, because they could have caught here before you and done exactly how you're doing. It's I don't know if Swimmy can make up the time, unless, you know, Zeromus, you still can never underestimate.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and by the way, although Simbu here doesn't quite have the lead, he's in very comfortable second place right now, probably. Really well done. He has cleared all of Baron Castle that penguin8r did not. He did the Sheila 1 check, so he's done a lot of checks this seed and is still going very quickly.
It feels very nice when you're able to clear more than your opponent and not be really that far behind them.
Absolutely. And that is a thing too, that if Baron Castle had the value, this race is Swimmy and Simbu's, and penguin8r has to be the one who runs around trying to find what he's missing. Rando gonna rando, and this is a very clear-cut case of that. penguin8r skipped that 1 check, and it paid off immensely for him this run.
And of course, penguin8r forgetting to do something that I mentioned earlier and not switch the Falcon. So he's got to take the mini walk of shame over to Troya.
Who's in my parking space? Oh, I'm in my parking space.
We've all done it. But another nice thing, our runners got that pass early, so doesn't even have to go back up to the moon, just straight to Troya and straight into the Z fight. And I believe there's a certain question that gets asked every time. Do you know what that?
Of course. So we randomize all the boss locations, but not Zeromus. This script is a little too nasty to have bump into you at, say, the Antlion Spot or Baron Inn. So we randomize Zeromus a different way. Huge sprite pool from so many different games. So every time we have one of these, we have to ask, whose butt are we going to kick tonight?
It's great fun. There's so many sprites, and it's always nice to see what pops. You know, because Natara is in here, I'm going to root for Ultros tonight.
I mean, Natara's in here most of these and is always rooting for Ultros.
Yeah, but she also has a character named after her tonight, and in the party too.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Natara planning on becoming an octopus someday. I will be Ultros eventually.
Ooh, that's an interesting one to get.
Ness.
Geigesumus. That is really a mouthful to say. One of the, in my opinion, the creepiest bosses from the SNES era, from Earthbound.
Oh yeah, and also very well implemented into Free Enterprise. I love how it has, you know, the huge creepy swirl going all the way around. It has the spaces in the middle, which actually is kind of funny because it looks like both Cecil and Yang are hitting the empty space between the red parts. I had not noticed that before. Gorgeous sprite, though.
And a lot of these Z sprites are from our community, from the community. I am having a tough time today. Our sprites are mostly made and ripped from by Scala Kitty. There we go. I swear I know how to talk.
Scala, one of the head engineers of the game. She handles the fab palettes. She handles the vast majority of the Zeromus sprites. Huge help restreaming and just doing a lot of things for the community. So she's the reason why I believe we have close to 400 Zeromus sprites in this game. So huge shout out to Scala Kitty.
Certainly, she puts in a lot of work for the community, and it's always greatly appreciated.
Nothing here, by the way. penguin8r didn't really grind too high here. As Rosa only has a little over 2,000. That's probably good enough. She's not wearing body armor. He had a heroin robe until just recently. The ribbon will help a lot towards nerfing these big bangs. But if she actually takes a wipe to a big bang, it will be dangerous here. Especially if we get like a big bang right into Meteo. Because that Cecil probably can't tank both of those in quick succession.
That is a runner's worst fear. penguin8r could try to nerf it, or he could play it safe and hope that Rosa doesn't die and just heal up the party right away. Cure 4 does not have much of a delay at all.
Oh yeah, 0 delay. Unlike Cure 1 through Cure 3, they all actually have a delay, and that's what you have to worry about. Rosa taking the big bang, going down. Cecil and Yang, the only two standing. Rocks are falling. penguin8r should have this in the bag, though. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Cecil is on the ground. Yang is still berserked. There's a chance if Yang can dodge him, but...
Here comes another Meteo. I don't think I've ever seen Meteo roll for 4 digits on Cecil. That was utterly brutal on Zeromus' part. Wow.
I think we gave a little bit of a commentator's curse to penguin8r, getting hit with the combo platter, big bang into Meteo.
Well, not just that, but I figured that Cecil would be okay. If he had gotten 1 crystal sword swing, he's golden. I don't think I've seen Cecil get hit by Meteo for 1,000 in months. So that's a huge shocker. penguin8r's still firmly in control here, but you know that's making his heart pound.
Oh, you don't want to see that right there on Meteo. It is the worst feeling.
And Rakshon asking in chat, would you grind if that happened? I think, given that it was just a particularly cruel confluence of high rolls, both one on Rosa, which took her down, and then a 4-digit Meteo hit on Cecil, I don't think you grind. I think you just say, whoop, bad luck, and dive right back in here.
That's very true. It's just really bad luck, and it sometimes happens. Zeromus can do some pretty cruel things when you least expect it. Simbu finished up that plague fight. Meanwhile, Swimmy on that Ogo Pogo. So Simbu is now going to be in go mode. Probably going to do a little bit of grinding. I don't expect him to do very much, similar to Pink. And then straight into that Z fight.
Yeah, Penguin8r's rearranged his team a little bit, putting Rosa in the top, Cecil in the bottom.
One thing to note is Simbu is at 10 key items.
Also, with that crystal sword, Simbu knows he can one-shot eggs rather than having to take multiple turns on gold dragons. So as long as you can very quickly one-shot eggs, they are a slightly faster grind if you don't need to slingshot anyone. So it looks like he's going to probably get whatever levels he still needs down here underground.
This is very true. 10 key items going to double that experience, and eggs, 64,000 to pop, and you're one-shotting them, very quick grind.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on here. Penguin8r is rocking a Zerker Rosa, and I'm pretty... Oh, wait, no, never mind. Okay.
I think he accidentally berserked Rosa because I saw him use a unicorn.
I think he's probably just doing it for good luck. He's a big proponent of these unicorn strats, and he probably thought that's what went wrong last time. I didn't use a unicorn in the fight. If I don't use a unicorn, how am I gonna... So... I think he's just trying to be a little swagalicious now, maybe, or again, he could just be extremely nervous. I can't wait to ask him.
That's going to definitely be a question to ask. It's very interesting to do that. And then Rydia, since she doesn't have nuke, making use of her to throw cure 3s. I mean, at least she's being able to do something for the fight after carrying us for a good bit of the seed with that Bahamut.
Simbu, meanwhile, hot on Penguin8r's heels. Still has a chance to claim first over Penguin8r, especially if there's another incident. Not gonna call it a commentator's curse, just another incident like last time.
It's still... Penguin8r still has a little bit of a lead, but things can always happen, and Simbu is very, very knowledgeable about the Zeromus fight.
And there is another knockout on his Rosa. Cecil and Young still swinging. Will we see a black hole, or are we going to go right into Meteo phase?
There's the black hole, so this is salvageable.
Yeah, this means he can pick the Rosa up. He can do Cure 4s if he wants. The big worry would be if these last hits tip into Meteo phase. If so, those rocks are going to fall very quickly.
Looks like he's going to throw a Cure 3 on Yang. I actually really agree with this, just in case something went wrong, and has the Cure 4 queued up in Rosa. He should be okay, as long as Rosa doesn't take another big hit from Big Bang.
Yeah, there was a shake there. We're not in Meteo phase, but another Big Bang coming out. Let's see how everyone endures it.
Rosa tanks it and is okay. Simbu now has thrown his crystal and officially getting into that Zeromus fight.
Yeah, Rosa there, it looks like she hit every one of her dodge rolls probably, taking a paltry 1,200 plus change.
That's something you always love to see, especially on Rosa. But taking a nuke like that is... I don't think Yang is berserk, so should be okay. Getting that Cure 4 off on Cecil and Rosa, and Cecil just tearing through Zeromus, 4,000, 5,000 to hit.
I think penguin8r's all set now. He has over 2,800 HP on Cecil. Cecil's zerked up now. He should be, well, that's another shake.
And it looks like he's going to try to nerf the Big Bang with a Silk Web.
Pretty clever idea here. If it's timed right, it means this next Big Bang will only do a max of 1,200.
But Rosa takes a huge hit from that nuke. This Big Bang is going to kill her.
But it does paltry damage to Young and Cecil. So now rocks can fall, and penguin8r won't have too much to worry about if they do.
And there is rocks, and both his characters have pretty solid HP. Queued up a Cure 3 for Cecil. I think this is penguin8r's race to...
Oh, yeah, I think one more hit should do this here with how that Crystal Sword's going. There's the flash.
penguin8r with a very nice first place, a time of 1:37.28. GG, very well played by...
Absolutely. Get your GGs out in chat for penguin8r. He is one of the 2 members of this group that will advance to the playoff round, the final 8. And Simbu's looking in good shape to advance as well. Meanwhile, we'll see if we can get penguin8r in here for an interview shortly.
And just unfortunately for Swimmy, the randomizer got him, so... And he still could win if Simbu takes a couple nasty wipes, but... And we are joined by penguin8r. GG, very well played on first place tonight.
Thank you, and thank God for whatever rabbit hole let me win that race. That was sloppy.
You avoided the Sheila 1 check, which gave both Swimmy and Simbu the Baron key, and that's where they lost time on you. Although Simbu hot on your heels right now. He's in the Zeromus fight, and he's wrecking it. When you were in the second fight and you zerked Rosa, was that just nerves getting to you? You had rearranged your party and everything? What exactly happened there?
So that was an overplink. For those who don't know, there's a technique you can do in menus in this game where you kind of press extra buttons and it doubles up your directional inputs. Normally you can slide your cursor down 2 spots, so I was trying to slide it down to Cecil. But sometimes you get an extra input in there, and then I just pressed A bit too fast without making sure I was on the right spot, and so Berserk landed on Rosa, so had to scramble and throw the Unicorn to get her back, but worked out in the end.
You see, I thought you were maybe being a little cheeky, like you're not going to win a race if you don't use at least Unicorn.
Did not feel nearly that comfortable at that point.
Gotcha. Tarasu, you got anything that you spotted that you'd like some extra input on?
So what'd you think of 3 vanilla lunar bosses tonight?
Yeah, I know there's been some technical issues with the Free Enterprise website recently, so if board faces out there, you might want to check that moon randomization too.
But I mean, overall, you got a Crystal Sword, and then going up Zot, getting Darkness and Cecil, that has to feel really, really nice.
Yeah, I generally try to avoid Zot because it's just such a slow check, and I was okay with my party before that. But between the elements and the summons goofs costing me time, I felt like I was a little bit behind, kind of needed to make a bit of a play. And so at that point, I figured I'll go Zot, and if it's value, then I'm in good shape. If not, it's probably over. And couldn't have asked for better. Cecil for that Crystal Sword. Darkness Crystal. Cecil says, "Oh, hello, 4 mages. This is now a physical party."
I do have another question for you, but right quick, we do have a second place finisher. Simbu has cleaned up that Zeromus fight, the Rosa Cecil combo, clearing out Gygasmus, taking second place with a 139.55. He will also be advancing to the playoff round. Sesame and Swimmy will be eliminated, but he's not giving up yet, it seems. So we'll please see him finish the seed. One other question, penguin8r. What was going through your mind after you had full cleared the lunar subterrain and found nothing but more swords?
Just thinking, where are my key items and why are these bosses not randomized?
Gotcha.
Like at that point, I knew I needed to commit to the moon because if value was elsewhere, I had already lost basically.
And so I think at this point, you probably have an idea of who you and Simbu will be facing off against I believe your group combines with. I believe your group combines with. Hold on, I'm pulling up the schedule now. I believe the
it's
advancers
group
from the
one.
Mist Dragon group, or am I wrong on? Oh no, you have to deal with Night Dew and El Magus, don't you?
Yeah.
That's going to be a match. That's going to be exciting. How are you feeling going into that one?
Super excited for that. Haven't had a chance to race Elmagus since last year's league, and rematch for me with Night Dew since our earlier matchup during this league, and hoping to get my revenge.
Sounds good. Well, any final thoughts before we move on and get Simbu in here for an interview?
Why is the moon not randomized?
We'll go put a post in bug reports. Thanks again, Penguin8r. GG's.
GG. Ooh, this is gonna be very interesting, Simbu, and we're joined by Simbu. GG, well played.
Thank you.
So, although you took second, I dare say you probably played that seed better than pretty much anyone. You cleared more bosses than Penguin8r almost as quickly, took very few wipes. What did you do early in that seed that you think really helped you just speed through it without really any road bumps? What was going through your head?
Honestly, I didn't find much of the beginning that hard. The only thing that I did even a little bit special was, since I didn't have any gear to hurt the ogres really well, I decided to just do a few sirens on ordeals and get Quake that way. But other than that, I really didn't think that was a hard start.
Gotcha. Tarasi?
I was gonna say, it certainly didn't look like a hard start. You got Quack Kid right at the beginning. Eventually found a Bahamut for Rydia. You had Rosa. Eventually Yang. Just looked like you had zero trouble through that beginning. And then I think you only took one death to the Darken.
Yeah, I took one there because I managed to get a hourglass off with Rosa, but it came a little bit too late, so they got a second turn in. But I just lowered the speed a little bit, and that time Rydia didn't die, so no problem.
So what did you think of that fairly vanilla moon filled with legendary swords?
I mean, at least we are supposed to know how to beat them, right? Honestly, some parts of it weren't too bad. It was a little bit annoying because I wanted to have something a little bit easier to go through, but overall they were pretty good bosses to test game knowledge, so I can't complain.
And then finally, regarding your moon routing, so you knew you would arc Baron Castle and come up short on that check. Did that make you consider doing any kind of top-down or changing your strats, or are you just Lunar Dragons first check 100% of the time?
There was a little bit of a thought of it, but I was kind of thinking that it's become so much of a meta to check the Bahamut spot that I kind of felt like someone probably would check the top two spots, so I didn't feel that far behind. Like, I felt like I was clearing through the seed pretty well, and I went moon as soon as I got darkness. It's just I expected other people to fall into the same rabbit holes and just kind of hope that I chose right. Obviously I didn't, but from what I glanced of the stream at the very end, it kind of seems like everyone else took the same rabbit hole down to the lunar subterrane too, so...
I mean, really the only difference between you and Penguin8r was just that Sheila wanted to Baron Key.
Yeah, that was definitely something that obviously was a bit on my mind, because one, I skipped tower. Looking at everyone's trackers, it seems like everyone skipped tower. So luckily no one fell down that rabbit hole, but I did both Twin Harp and Baron Key, which was extra. And worse, I did Earth Crystal last, which is finally where we found our Crystal Sword Cecil. So that always weighs on your mind a little bit, but again, I was just kind of assuming. I don't think many people take this route very early because Earth Crystal is not a check that people want to make early. So I just said, let's just race everyone to the finish. Just kill things, and that's what I did.
That you did. You played incredibly well. So GG again on the second play.
Yeah, very well played. Of course, next up, you and penguin8r are going to have to go up against the first and second place finishers from last year's Zemus zone, El Magus and Nightdew. How do you feel going into that? Are you any particular plans or strategies you intend to employ against opponents of that caliber?
I mean, we have technically already raced each other, and I might have gotten fourth place in that race, but I remember reviewing that bot, and we were all neck and neck. It's just people took the wrong rabbit holes. Magus found his value at Bahamut for the umpteenth time, so it's like, okay, you might find value there often, but one day it's going to bite you, so I'm just going to hope that whatever rabbit hole he chooses bites them. Other than that, I know I gotta finish top 2, so it's gonna be pretty difficult, but I've got to represent the 12-point team. I know you and Baka said that you're gonna do everything you can to get 12 points on the other side of the board, so that's my plan for now.
Well, sounds good. GG's again. You have any final thoughts on tonight's seed before we follow Swimmy into the Zeromus fight?
Yes. Natara, I dumped Palom just for you. I hope you're happy. And I used Cry just for you. So I guess that means you shouldn't be happy, but...
That almost ended sweet. I did it just for you, to make you mad.
But yeah, it was pretty... I mean, it was a good race. These are tough competitors, and I'm just racing my best. And honestly, I think I played that Zeromus... Like, if I had to pick any highlight of the seed, it was that Zeromus fight. I think that was a very technical Zeromus fight, and I pulled it off. I mean, Rosa only had 1800 HP. That's... it was very... As far as my accomplishments, this seed, I think that Zeromus fight takes the cake. So, especially getting the swag Cry in there, yeah, I love it.
Everyone loves the swag Cry, so GG, well played, and good luck in your continuing race.
Yep, thanks guys, and have fun with the rest of the race.
Have a good night. GG's again.
And it looks like we're just in time for SwimmyLionni to enter his Gygomus fight.
Yep, so Swimmy has done really great this seed. Did get a little stymied early on, but has gone through pretty much the same path that Simbu has at this point, just a little behind. Still a great racer. Make sure you give all three of these racers a follow. You're gonna see more from them in the days and weeks to come, undoubtedly.
That's very true. All three of these racers are incredible runners of the game, and you know, even starting out, Simbu is always in our newbies corner, helping out new players. And huge shout out to all of our runners putting themselves out here for our entertainment tonight.
And here we go. Final Zeromus fight of the night. Swimmy, of course, he already knew his opponents were finished. He came in here with minimal risk. We see that 2500 HP on Rosa. It looks like Palom has enough levels to no nuke. The Rydia's also looking pretty strong. I'm wondering if we're even going to see Cecil swing that Crystal Sword, or if Swimmy's just going to go pure Reflect strats here.
If you've got 2 Rydias with Nuke, Palom with Nuke, the Crystal Sword just isn't the same DPS.
It looks like he is going to take at least a couple swings. He's probably counting, going to make sure he doesn't tip and into the second half of the fight. Earlier, we were talking about how both the Elements fight and the Zeromus fight have HP refills. So yeah, as long as you don't do direct damage past the 45,000 mark, and then do reflect damage, it only takes 61,000 to kill Zeromus, not 120-ish.
If you're really good at counting, it's incredible to use these hybrid strats to quickly get through Zeromus.
Getting a little bit of stream stutter here. It's kind of a thing that happens during the Zeromus fight. We do have that scrolling parallax background. We have all the particle effects of Nuke. So we are still seeing these nice 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 numbers pop up. Swimmy's going to be done with this fight very quickly.
I mean, we can expect lag from a game that's over 30 years old at this point.
Oh, absolutely.
But you just see the 2 Rydias and a Palom with Nuke is just absolutely decimating this Zeromus fight.
Yeah, we saw 2 strats which mostly revolved around that Crystal Sword Cecil. This is saying, no, this is the Children's Crusade. They're going to be bouncing all the spells, doing all the work here.
I don't know. It still feels bad to have a Crystal Sword Cecil just defending.
I mean, Swimmy does have it named Please Nerf, so he may be one of our racers who kind of dislike just how strong Cecil is in the current meta, in which case I could see him purposely putting him on the sideline for this fight.
Very, very true. I mean, at this point, Swimmy has nothing to lose. Spend the extra time and show off, you know, one of the more fun strats you can do for Zeromus.
And there's the flash. Do that 61,000 in a hurry. Get your GGs out for SwimmyLionni. 3rd place finisher tonight. Made it to the top 12. Wonderful racer of this game and just great all-around guy. So get those out and we'll see if we can get him in here for an interview shortly.
And we are now joined by SwimmyLionni. GG, well played.
Swimmy, you're lighting up, but we're not actually hearing you. You may need to unplug and replug your microphone. Hopefully we'll get these mic issues sorted out with Swimmy in a minute. While we're working on that, just a reminder that we do have 2 more races in the draft phase coming up this weekend, both Sunday. At 11 a.m. Eastern, we do have the round 2 of the Mist Dragon division. That's PeasantsOMFG, Zilch, and Dobbytwostep facing off to see which 2 of them will advance. And then that night at 7 p.m. Eastern, there is the second match of the Golbez division. That's yours truly, along with Abaka Shinobi and Aizen Tayama. And after that, we'll know who these final 8 are going forward.
All right, is this working now?
Hey, we can hear you. GG's.
Good, yes, thank you.
So we saw you get a little stymied on the upper Babel bosses. After that point, were you considering doing any particular skips or changing your route, thinking you might need to make up some lost time?
Actually, I was thinking of doing the opposite of that. I was thinking, okay, so now you can do something stupid and hope to make up that time. Don't do it. Hope that someone else does that.
I was rooting
I
for
didn't
you.
change my plan at all, really.
I was so rooting for you to do top down. I was hoping you'd take that left instead of that right, and then it would have been just a neck and neck and neck finish. It would have been glorious, but you still played great.
Yeah, that moon was really funny, actually. It was like, hey, do you like holy swords? We
Do
got
you like
some
vanilla
holy swords.
bosses?
Here, yeah. You want an Excalibur? You want another? You want a lightsaber? Here, have it all.
Were you, by the time you had full cleared the subterrane, were you starting to worry that maybe it had been back at the, maybe like that single dip tower or at Cave Bahamut, perhaps?
No, well, I figured it was going to be Top or Cave Bahamut, and I thought it was actually going to be a chain into Pan or Tower Key or something like that.
Gotcha. Tirasu?
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, we were really rooting for you. Just incredible play. It just felt like a little bit of rando with the Baron key and just a little unfortunate on the elements, but I just have to say, so much vanilla, and it looked like you had a great time making sure everyone knew that Cecil needed a nerf.
I mean, it was a fun seed. It was a fine race. I goofed up a couple spots, but yeah, in the end, like you said, if I had just gone left instead of right, I could have had a more competitive time. So that's rando. But I don't know. I'm really happy. I made top 12 and I made final 12. And the people I lost to are Simbu and penguin8r, who are both great racers and great people. So I'm hoping that they do well in the finals.
This is very, very true. Nothing to scoff at making the top 12. Incredible play throughout the entire tournament, and looking forward to seeing you race in the future as well.
Yep, I'm not done, but I will try to make some more time for Vanilla Note 64.
And a lot of people diving back into that lately. So
No cash, got a few. So if anyone watching wants to learn one of the vanilla speed runs, there are people running No 64 right now.
it's a good run. I've seen Puexel, seen No Cash doing it lately. So yeah, definitely something to dip into. Any other thoughts tonight, Swimmy, before we find someone to send this fine crew over to?
No, I'm just really happy I got to participate in this tournament. Seriously, good luck to everyone who's left. And may Rando not be too rando.
Well, tonight, Smaepdii tried to give you a seed that clearly wasn't with all those vanilla bosses.
It was pretty silly. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks so much.
You too, Swimmy.
GG again.
GG's.
So, do you have any final thoughts on this seed from tonight?
Not really. I kind of like how it played out. You were advantaged to skip that Sheila check until you had a pan. The moon was good for the most part. If you went there, you didn't have to follow any really long chains afterwards. Pretty nice seed, pretty fun fights at the upper Babel spot. I liked it.
It was a really fun seed to watch. Great run from all three of our runners. Make sure you definitely follow them. They're always putting themselves out here for our entertainment. And of course, incredible play from our top runners in this tournament. So always check them out. And of course, a huge shout out to our restream team tonight, Smaepdii, who rolled a very vanilla boss-centric seed. And of course, Gambit017 on tracking, doing an incredible job catching things that we as commentators miss. And Invincible, it's always a great pleasure working with you, either as our restreamer, but tonight especially getting to work with you on commentary.
Oh yeah, Terasu, you're one of the greats, and I'm glad that we finally got a chance to work together. It was a really great time. So give everyone a follow. You get a follow, you get a follow, you get a follow. But in the meantime, I think we have a raid set up. Where are we headed, Terasu?
It looks like we're going to be heading to RPG Mel 710, another runner of this, and one of our runners that's doing fairly well in Hope It, if I'm not mistaken. So definitely stick around and check them out.
Yep, we do have an open tournament going on alongside Zemus, and Mel's doing pretty well in it. So we're gonna go give Mel a raid, cheer him on. Probably has emote only, trying to avoid spoilers and such. But let's go watch another great racer of Free Enterprise, and you all have a wonderful evening.
See y'all next time.